there's a level playing field. But right now, we are encouraging people to go to other countries to open offices because we have the highest, both marginal and effective rates in the world. I mean, what we need as a federal government, we don't create jobs. We don't need any more of that nonsense. What we need to do is put in place policies that allow the American people to compete with the rest of the world. We can get there. We can do it. But let's not send them over there. Force them over there anymore. That's wrong.
What about that?
Does that help?
Well, I guess in a way. They've got to, ever since they put tax cut, they've got away with not paying.
We recognize that. That's why we put in the Path to Prosperity, the fundamental reforms that eliminate all the sweetheart deals for the folks that can afford things. People that are taking advantage of these kind of deductions don't live in Kansas. We all can't afford those high-priced attorneys and lobbyists. So I
got one more question. When you get on this, pass a bigger budget cut, people that had 401ks, but one hell of a week. I can tell you I lost about $40,000 now.
With what? I'm sorry, Miss Lady.
When you had to take a bigger, you couldn't come to an agreement on taking the budget.
Oh, because of the market?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That it's going to be a rocky road in the market, I think, for some time, given the uncertainty in the marketplace right now. People don't know.
You guys don't compromise.
Yeah, that's part of it. Part of it is the world economy. I mean, while we're messed up, look at some other nations across the world. With everybody's economy, not everybody's, but there are a whole lot of other people. But what we can do at the federal level is give folks some certainty so they know. And I think, what their taxes are going to be, because if a business thinks their taxes are going to be raised, they're not going to invest in property, plant, and equipment. They're not going to hire somebody else. In fact, they may lay somebody off. So everyone is just squirreling away their cash right now, which is evident in the stock market. And I don't blame them. They think regulators are going to shut them down. They're afraid Congress is going to raise their taxes. And businesses are hurting right now. They're the ones that create the jobs. So let's give them some certainty that we're not going to sue them, put them out of business. We're not going to tax them to death. They can compete with anyone in the world. We're not going to shut them down at the regulatory. And then I think you will see the nation thrive.
Thanks for the last 2 years. When Congress and Champions stayed home, it's been thorough.
There are days I think the same thing.
Ms. Jenkins? I'm sorry.
Okay, just a minute.
Sure.
Yes, sir. We've heard all these discussions in Congress and everything about cutting Social Security and Medicare and defense budgets, etc. And we haven't heard one word about cutting the phenomenally huge federal bureaucracy. I mean, the only section that improved on employment was the federal government. All other employment dropped, but the Obama administration grew fantastically. How come we aren't cutting any federal employees?
Well, again, in our budget, we did. Everybody took, shared in the sacrifice, but the Senate basically defeated that budget. And so, I'm just not sure how we get the administration to come along in this kind of a deal. I do know that in the little discretionary spending pie, the 20% that was green, since January we've cut 25% of just that piece. But we've got to, when you just talk about 20%, cutting 25% of 20% doesn't get you very far. That's why we have to talk about the rest of it, the real drivers, kind of the big big deals. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you again for coming. I don't know if you noticed on the way in, but there were a good deal, a great many signs put out, and this is a very local issue regarding our post office. And we here in Lecompton are very alarmed that we're going to lose our post office. And there are a good many reasons, very substantial reasons, for us to keep our post office. And I don't know how many people here share my concern, but I know that was one of the reasons I came today, and I just wondered, can you address that? Is there, I know the postal system is bleeding red, but we desperately need our post office for a variety of reasons that we don't obviously have time to go into.
I agree 100%, and that's why Bill and Paul Bonmeyer talk at least probably once a day, 5 times a week, have been for 2 months. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to stay on the front lines with you fighting that. I will try to give you some comfort in that we did receive a list, and all we have is kind of oversight over this. Congress doesn't get to.
I know this is happening all over.
But we received a list, and there must be maybe 33 post office in our district that are on the list to be closed. Lecompton's not one of them. That's the good news. I guess the bad news is you have lost a couple routes. You need a postmaster. And so what we need to do is give you some comfort there. Hopefully we can continue to work on this. But at least you're behind 33 other communities in the 2nd district. They would be the first targets. There are certain criteria, as I read from the post office, that they are using. Lecompton doesn't meet the criteria to be closed today. And something tells me you're a thriving community. You've got great support for this. My sense is you're going to be fine. Unfortunately, again, Congress doesn't have a say, but I'm going to be there with you every step of the way. Paul, do you have anything to add?
Well, Bonnie will help me pass out. These are just, I think that every one of our citizens, because we don't have a local newspaper, well, we do have the Lawrence Journal-World that does a fantastic job of reporting, but these are some information that we have compiled. And the first is a list. I would like to recognize people who have so generously given their time and written letters for us.
Is it true that voting won't occur until after the election? The president doesn't lose more employees on unemployment? Is that a true story?
It's a year-long study. They'll be doing
A year-long study, so we'll be probably after we vote for our next president.
They started studying after they had
I just would like to say this. We have had fantastic support from anybody that we've ever contacted. And I want to read the list of the names of people who have taken time to write letters. Senate Minority Leader Anthony Hensley, House Minority Leader Paul Davis, State Senator Marcy Francisco, State Representative Tom Sloan, USD Superintendent Dennis Schroeder, People's State Bank, Quint Winter, Lawrence Chamber of Commerce, Tom Kern, Friends of the Caw, Mike Caldwell, Douglas County Commission, Lecompton Township, City of Lecompton, Lecompton Historical Society, and the First State Bank and Trust. And we've had included in this is an editorial that was in the Lawrence Journal-World that was written by Ann Gardner. Take time to read it if you don't take the Journal-World. And then we have a letter, it's a guest editor that was in the Lawrence, in the Topeka Capitol. We were asked to write this. It is a comment, it's not my sole input. Please don't take that, because Elsie had input, Sandy had input, and we had input from a number of people who wrote letters of ideas and things that we had not thought of. So that letter is in the Capitol. They asked us to write it. And then Mike Kolflick wrote a letter, and a large number of letters by individuals in this community that have written letters that we don't have a list of. And the letter to the editor that's in the Capitol. And I might add, it's nice to have Elizabeth Patton here. She is representing Senator Moran's office, and Scott Rothschild, who is here from the Lawrence Journal-World. I don't know whether there's anybody here from anywhere else, but we do appreciate it very much. And I wish you would take time to read this letter. The last one that was in the Lecompton post office should remain open. That's the Capitol's headline. That's not something that we selected. And they say that they're closing post offices and communities are dying. Well, take a look at the things that have been done here in Lecompton in the last 10 years from the various communities and things in the post office. And then go over and list the hardships that's going to be imposed on the people from this community. For instance, if we have to go to Perry to get our mail, we've got to call long distance. We've got to cross the railroad track, which has 44 trains traveling. We have to go across the floodplain. You know, there are a lot of towns in Missouri who thought they were not in the floodplain either, but they found out they were. And the list goes on and on about the inconveniences. The main thing is how this community is a growing community in a growing county. And I think someone made a decision in Kansas City without ever coming here. And I think our former postmaster, who retired, and then we didn't jump right on it to get a replacement, might have some comments. Vicki?
Thank you, Lynn, for coming today. I'm the former postmaster in Lecompton. This office has been open since around 1850s. It's historic. It serves a large community. We go south of Stowe. We go west toward Lawrence. We go west towards Lawrence. We go east towards Lawrence and skirt their route. We used to be a level 13, and before that it was a level 11. And we went from a level 11 to a 13 to a 15, which is growth. Revenue and growth. This community serves a lot of older people, which I'm included now. And there's a lot of them that can't even walk to their post office down here and have to go at certain times when they can count on other people too. We have it closed for 2 hours during the noon hour, which I would have changed if I could have to help my customers out. They depend on this. Yesterday I saw a large bus tour come into our city, and they come to the post office. They come to see the mural that's on the wall, and if we ever do anything to the building or take it down, they're going to have to cut out that whole wall and take it, because it is a historic memorial. And it was done by a local artist here. And I'm just saying, we are long distance to Perry. We are long distance over there to call. If these people need to go get a hold of someone and our office is closed, they have to go to Perry to find out. They've got to pay long distance fees. Well, I don't know how many congressmen and representatives, I don't know what their incomes are here, but I guarantee you it is not minimum wage. And these people here depend on this office. We have history. We've redone our Constitution Hall, which they tried to close at one time and didn't get done. We had Democratic headquarters here. We used to have a high school too. You used to have a high school that someone supposedly said was dangerous and should be considered, you know, not non-use. And we had an architecture come in and go through that building. There's not one crack in that concrete. You can't find a crack in it. It's going to last longer than a new house that's being built right here today. And we have Fort Titus. We have Fort Titus, and the history is here, and the growth is here. And I do not understand why they took our carriers to Lecompton, and they're not accessible to these people. This is their community. They live here, they worked here at one time, and all of a sudden they're stripped out of their office and thrown to Perry,